I'll admit I was wrong about modern Star Trek's riskiest TV show. I'll admit it. I was wrong. I judged the Star Trek series before giving it the proper time, before letting it breathe and show me what it could do. I wrote it off as too ambitious, too chaotic, too different from the clean, philosophical, almost ritualized storytelling of the next generation. But sometimes, being wrong is the only way to truly appreciate something groundbreaking. And that's exactly what happened with modern Star Trek's riskiest TV show. At first glance, this series seemed like a gamble no one asked for. It wasn't the polished, mission of the week style many of us grew up with. It was messy, unpredictable, and deliberately uncomfortable. Episodes didn't always resolve neatly. Characters acted in morally gray ways that made you question your own allegiances. There were moments that made you flinch, not because of violence or shock, but because the storytelling dared to explore the cracks in the Starfleet veneer. And for a long time, I couldn't get past that discomfort. But here's the thing about Risk. It doesn't play well to people who want familiarity. Risk demands patience, a willingness to navigate uncharted waters, and accept that not everything will land perfectly. And in this case, what I initially perceived as narrative chaos was actually a meticulously crafted reflection of a universe in flux. The show is bold not because it throws in twists for cheap thrills, but because it refuses to pretend the Star Trek universe is simple, tidy, or morally black and white. Take the characters, for instance. Modern Star Trek tends to introduce more morally complex figures than its predecessors. Heroes aren't infallible, and antagonists aren't purely evil. Every decision has weight, and every mistake reverberates. Watching the show, I realized that the risk isn't just in the storylines. It's in how it forces viewers to confront the imperfections of its characters, and, by extension, themselves. Star Trek has always been about ideals, but this series dares to ask, what if those ideals clash with the realities of the galaxy? What if Captain Pike, or Michael Burnham, has to choose between doing what's right and doing what's necessary? The answers aren't always neat, and that's the point. The series' visuals and pacing also broke the mold in ways that initially felt jarring. Modern Star Trek isn't content to show us a polished starship with perfectly orchestrated lighting. It immerses us in gritty space environments, tense hand-to-hand confrontations, and high-stakes diplomacy that could collapse at any moment. Scenes that might have been montages in older series are stretched out to make us live with the tension, to feel the uncertainty, to notice the human, or alien, cost of every decision. At first, I thought this style was indulgent, even overdramatic. But as the series progressed, it became clear. This was intentional. Every uncomfortable long shot, every abrupt tonal shift serves to make the galaxy feel lived in, alive, and dangerous. It's a universe where Starfleet ideals meet the real consequences of exploration. Even the storytelling structure challenged my assumptions. Early on, I struggled with the series' nonlinear plots and interwoven arcs that didn't always provide immediate payoffs. I'm used to episodic resolutions, or at least arcs that feel comfortably contained within a season. But this show insists that patience is part of the viewing experience. Clues, character developments, and moral dilemmas are seeded across episodes, waiting for careful eyes to notice. At first, I thought it was sloppy. Then I realized it was an invitation. The show trusts its audience to engage actively, to think critically, and to sit with uncertainty, a rarity in modern television. And let's not forget the emotional weight. Modern Star Trek has never shied away from heartbreak, loss, or the consequences of hubris. Episodes that once seemed melodramatic suddenly hit with devastating clarity because the series doesn't manipulate emotion artificially. It earns it. The risks the characters take, emotionally, morally, and physically resonate because the universe around them feels authentic. Unlike some prior entries that leaned on nostalgia or established tropes, this series dares to be vulnerable in ways that make the victories feel earned and the failures sting. So, yes, I was wrong. I dismissed it too quickly, unwilling to embrace the discomfort, the risk, and the moral complexity it offers. I underestimated its courage, its willingness to challenge Star Trek conventions, and its ability to make me think, not just about the galaxy far, far away, but about my own assumptions, my own judgments, and the gray areas I often ignore. Now, I see this series for what it truly is. Modern Star Trek at its boldest, most unflinching, and, paradoxically, most faithful to the franchise's spirit of exploration. It's risky, yes, but that's exactly why it works. Star Trek has always been about venturing into the unknown, not just in space, but in ideas, ethics, and the human heart. This show embodies that risk with every frame, every dialogue choice,